There we go. And I think we can get started whenever you're ready. As folks
Awesome.
come in, that's okay, and we'll have the
Yeah.
recording. So yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So, basically, what I wanted to talk about was how it was for me. I'm also a fellow UTRGV, alumni now. Not just like Kristen. I was in her breakout room earlier. And a lot of the stuff that she talked about, obviously, I have the same thing. Although I was doing my undergraduate, not master's or postdoc, or like she was saying. But one of the things that I was able to use was something called C Campus. So C Campus, I think it stands for Child Care. I don't remember the exact term, but it just means that parents are able to go to focus on school because the daycare is provided for. So at UTRGV, you have to apply, and once you get it, you will do volunteer hours throughout the year, there at the daycare, and you'll get your entire semester's worth of daycare covered. So as long as there's a class happening, so no holidays or no spring break, you can have your child there, and it's actually on the same location at UTRGV. So, and on the corner of the campus, there's a daycare, and so it's very convenient. On your way to class, you go drop them off. Obviously, there's rules, certain times, and it's a dream come true, basically. If you're a student parent, especially for me, um, not only was I going to school, but my fiance was going to school. So we're both going to school at UTRGV. So it's a match made in heaven, basically, to where, some days you have classes that you might not be able to pick them up, but then, your significant other can. So having it there was very convenient for us. And it really helped with the time management because I know that Kristen was talking about how you have time poverty when you're a student parent, which is very true because you're not only trying to do juggling all these classes and assignments, but oftentimes, like for me, you're working full time and then you're also a parent, so you're kind of having to figure out how to fit all this. Like, how can you do your homework if you rush from work to go to school or vice versa, and then afterwards you get home and you kind of want to be with your kid. You want to do things with them. You want to teach them because you don't want them to just be on an iPad or anything like that. Like you want to dedicate your time to them, but you also have assignments to do and you have other obligations. So stuff like that can be really complicated, but I feel like C Campus was something that really helped. And another thing that I know Kristen also touched on was having a village. And one of the things that my fiance did well, kind of with my help, but it was really her idea, was that she started a organization there at the university called Student Parent Success Organization. And it's basically just a network of student parents to ask questions, to talk, to, anything from what should I tell my professor that now like my child is sick, or what should I do now that I'm expecting? Because when it's your first time, you really don't know. Like you're thrown into the fire and you just have to figure it out. But with that organization, we'd hope to bring awareness. And one of the things we did do, which I did touch on, was we fundraised. Well, my fiance got approval with the library, and then we fundraised so that we could have a family study room. So in the family study room, it's just for student parents. It's a dedicated space that you have to like request a key to, and it has just a variety of things. That way, you can keep your child entertained while you're able to work. And because the idea was that, let's say, like for us, we don't have a printer at home, so we would need to go and print at the university. But obviously, taking your son or your child to the day or sorry to the library can kind of distract other students, and then maybe your child gets fussy because there's a lot of noise or a lot of activity, and they're not used to it. So especially when they're younger, so we put that together. Thankfully, the university approved the idea, and as long as we fundraised for it and fully furnished it and did all that, they had no complaints. We keep it clean. We go in there every now and then and we check to make sure that the toys are arranged good, and we have books in there. We have a dedicated computer there for students. That way, like for me, as an example, if I needed to print something, I could go there and I could take my son and he can play while I'm working or using the computer. That's something that has been really helpful. And I've actually used it a couple of times when maybe like you don't make it on time for daycare. So I have to take him with me. And then I just go there to the family study room and I'm able to let him play while I get work done. And I'm not losing that time basically. So that was something that was really helpful. And another thing that we learned while we're doing that is when you're interacting with the university, we learned that in Texas, I believe, every university has to have a parenting liaison. So that is a staff member who's dedicated to helping parents. So if you're a student parent, you can reach out to them and they'll help you. If you need help with housing, if you need help with food assistance, grants, anything like that, you can reach out to them. I believe ours is Dr. Sean Saladin. Um, we used to have another one, but he left the university. So Dr. Sean Saladin, I believe, is the current one. And you can just ask him any question really, like, hey, I'm a student parent. How do I get benefits? How do I get my Title IX protections? How do I speak to my professors? That's something that he was able to help with. Now, obviously, we met him after we had already done that, but he was still such a big help with our organization. We could email him and let him know, hey, this is student parent. Because another thing that I just remembered is in Texas, or at least at UTRGV, student parents now have the ability to have priority registration when it comes to classes. So this is something that was really helpful, especially for me going into my last year, where I was able to choose classes that fit my schedule. And because I'm priority, the very first day that it opened, I'm able to choose my schedule and have that flexibility to say, hey, I need to work at this time at my job, and I'm able to go afterwards to go to school or vice versa. You can fully customize it because all the classes are open since you're the first one. So that was something that really helped me in the last year, working full time and going to school full time. It was a great help to have that flexibility. And honestly, it also kind of helped because when you're going into your last year, you have to take electives, and some of them are very competitive. A lot of people want certain electives, and by being the first, you're able to have that freedom to basically get into any elective you want. And so it's a little bit of a benefit to have, you know, um, your child and let the university know because you do get some benefits from it. And I was able to take some good electives and graduate on time, and everything worked out for the best. So um, that's pretty much everything I had to say. If you had any questions or wanted to mention anything.
Yeah, I love all that, Miguel. Thank you so much. Yeah, Kristen, do you have any questions? I have a couple questions I can ask, but I just want to give the room.
I have questions, remarks. The remark I'll make first is that like I just think that UTRGV should be a case study of like what to do for your community, like of student parents, because like what y'all have set up, because your fiance is Eva?
Yeah, yeah, Eva.
Okay, yeah, like at first, like I just have a personal story of like, okay, when I was like literally like my first in between like my first and second trimester, I was like like roaming around campus and there was like a mental health day or something
Okay, yeah, yes.
feeling at. And it was the first time that I had heard of SP org. And out of all the orgs, like I had never seen like somebody just like start an org from the ground up and be so like passionate about it. And like I could have cried that day because I wanted to be like, I'm pregnant, but I was not telling people yet. Like I didn't tell people until like the third trimester, to be honest. But like, I don't know, she was just so nice and so supportive. And I was like, yeah, I'm just asking for a friend, and like I just think it's so amazing, like all of the like the different frameworks between like the campus for the daycare, the family study room, and like just all these support structures that are in place.
Hmm.
Are just first of all, amazing. And then I think the question that emerged was just to try to understand a bit how like the daycare works, because I think you mentioned that if you miss the time for the drop off that you have to kind of wait. And I was just wondering if like parents are allowed to, if it's the sort of thing that like I could just grab my laptop and like work there, or like how does that work?
At the family study room?
No, 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 like at the daycare itself. Like if I wanted to be at oh, she's waking. If I wanted to be at the daycare itself, like while she was there, something like if they have like kind of that sort of structure there, if it's
I mean, I never stayed there to work, but they do have like a lobby and they have university Wi-Fi. So if you have your login, you could still sit there and do all your work. And I'm sure like they're very nice people. You get to know them. So especially during your hours, you get to know them and they'll work with you. So I'm sure if you ask them, hey, can I just go to the volunteer room and work? They would definitely let you do that. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, that's nice. That's nice.
Mhm. And I think actually I went to one of your sessions when you were talking about internships. I recognized your presentation. I was like, oh, like you were the one talking about like work hard, play hard, I believe was one of your like slides about studying hard, but also having fun when you're on those internships and all that stuff.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Like, were you looking at one of the and like you're in engineering? Are you in
Yes,
engineering?
engineering. Yeah.
Okay, sure, sure. Yeah, you seem familiar. You seem familiar. Yeah, like I don't know. I'm lucky I'm able to keep interning while I've been able to have her, and
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for that. And there's one program that if you're look, I know that you mentioned that you're graduate, but this is the one that I'm doing that's super like it pays for travel, like it pays for so many things, and
Hmm.
recent grads are also eligible for that too.
Let me
So
make a note.
yeah, yeah. Like so that the application cycle is open for like another month, but it
Uh-huh.
allows you to work with like Department of Energy and like labs, and you can kind of get like position for a full-time role with them too, depending on their openings. But
That sounds good.
yeah, you have to share resources. But let me
Mhm.
open it up to Matthew because I know he said he had questions too. So
It's all good. I appreciate that. This is the connection building, right? That y'all are
Yeah.
talking about. That's so critical. I just wanted to ask you a question, Miguel, about like the perspective of a father. I'm wondering, like, if you have a message or a piece of advice specifically for dads at colleges, might you have a message that you'd like to share with other dads in your college or even other colleges?
Mhm. Well, I just think it's it's easy to get like the statistic that we were looking at that it's harder for student parents, but as long as you like try to use all the resources available to you, kind of like me, I used everything that the university had to offer. I used it that way I could finish my degree. So, kind of like what Kristen was saying with the village, it really does take a village, and I think it's okay to rely on them because a lot of times you might think, oh no, I need to do it myself. I need to do it myself. I can do it. Like you hear all these stories, oh, they did it by themselves, but realistically, it's makes more sense to take advantage of what you have, whether that be people around you who can help you or facilities like a UTRGV, and make it easier on yourself. You don't have to, struggle so hard just to say, "Oh, I did it by myself," because really nobody does it by themselves. Everybody has somebody that they rely on, and you're somebody that, like for me, my fiance relied on me sometimes. Well, all the time, but sometimes more than others. Where, hey, I need to go do this. Can you get him? Sure, we'll get him. And vice versa. Where I needed, hey, I have senior design presentations and I can't go. Can you go get him? And so being dependable, but then also you need to also depend on other people. That's something that is really important because you cannot do it alone, and you will need help somewhere along the line, and you shouldn't be ashamed to get some help where you can.
I love that.
Yeah.
The previous session I was in was about it takes a village. So yeah,
Yeah.
I appreciate that message. And I would be remiss if I didn't ask this question. Do you have a favorite dad joke? Do you have any sort of dad jokes that float around that you like to share?
Off the top of my head, it's hard to tell, but I am always making jokes, and I used to say them before, but now I have the permission to say them basically.
Yeah. I
Oh,
didn't mean to put you on the spot, but I just
yeah, no, I guess the easiest one is like when they say like, "Oh, I'm so hungry," and it's like, "Oh, hi, hungry," like that's
no.
like the easiest one. But I have to stop doing that one because I do it too much.
But it's a classic. It's a classic.
Yeah, yes, definitely a classic, and for good reason. It is pretty universal. It's easy
Right.
to use, so
But thank
that
you so
would probably
much, Miguel. Yeah, I'm hearing definitely rely on others and
yes.
also seek out the support systems in your institution, right?
Uh-huh.
If folks don't have those kinds of student orgs, do you have advice on like how to start one or how to like get them running?
Well, since I actually do have experience with that, because I did help my fiance do it from the ground up, it was really just putting yourself out there. So kind of like what Kristen said, we didn't know that she was pregnant at the time, but she just signed on to do this event and she made a whole poster about the family study room and all that stuff. And then we have like making group chats, fundraising, and we're actually still doing that. Hopefully, That way we can do what we were talking about earlier, like a scholarship. We want to fundraise so that the organization itself can, give a scholarship to one of the members, something like that. Anything that could help, $100, $200, it can go a long way, especially when you have a child. So from the ground up, it's really just um, building the network yourself is the hard part, finding fellow student parents. But once you get that going, it's like a snowball effect where it just builds on itself. And then you meet people just like we met Dr. Sean Saladin and his previous parenting liaison, and you just network like that. And luckily, UTRGV was very helpful, but I would hope that someone was able to replicate that in another university where they just network and they can find people that they can rely on.
Love that. Yeah, and look at that, just in time. So thanks.
So,
Thanks so much,
And we
folks.
are going to fundraise. I saw in the chat that there's
yes,
fundraising, so I think, and I
yes,
know
ma'am.
that
Hopefully, we'll get make a scholarship or something like grant, something that can help people.
yeah, that would be amazing. Thank you so much, Miguel.
Thank you. Likewise.